This is Devils in Detail. You know the drill. I'm Ethan Schmidt, he's Carson Field, and we love talking sports.
A big week for ASU athletics, NCAA tournaments for women's basketball and ice hockey, and two Sun Devil standouts announced their professional intents. One of those came from hockey.
The Cinderella story has come to an end. Sun Devil hockey took the ice in an NCAA tournament game for the first time in program history on Saturday. However, they came up just short against Quinnipiac, losing 2-1. Our Chase Dryberg is here to discuss the end of the season. So Chase, what were your takeaways from Allentown?
Yeah, from Allentown, you could see what everyone had talked about in the college hockey world, and that was that break that the ASU had from the start of March until they traveled to Allentown to take on Quinnipiac. That break that many of the other teams were playing in their conference championships, ASU could only practice at home and practice against each other. And that gets very repetitive, especially for the players, and you could see in the first 10 minutes especially, that showed. Quinnipiac was all over them. They had puck control. They were just hounding pucks at Joey Decord, and ASU didn't really know how to stop it. And to be honest, through the first two periods, that's exactly what happened until that third period when ASU started to show a little bit of life, especially when Brinton Pasechnik had scored that goal. And, you know, an unfortunate ending with losing Jared Gorley and being on the penalty kill for the end of that game. But it was really that start that you could see their sluggish legs really cost them that game.
Definitely. And now, Chase, despite the loss, it was still a very historic season for this young program. So how do you sum up everything this year that this year culminated into for the Sun Devils?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a very big step for this program, especially only being 3 full seasons in. This was a very big step, and for them to make the tournament so quickly, I don't think they expected it, nor did anyone else in the college hockey world expect it. So this is definitely a good step for the program and bringing them a lot of national attention that, you know, it not only gains them some respect in the college hockey world, but it also allows some other recruits to want to maybe join the program now, seeing that they've got something building here in Tempe, and it's going to be something that they've hopefully established a tradition to go on year in and year out to make the NCAA tournament.
Now, all of this was done in just the team's third full Division I season, as Chase mentioned. And so, Chase, how much credit can you give to head coach Greg Powers, and how bright is the future ahead for this team?
Yeah, well, we saw just yesterday he was nominated for the Spencer T. Penrose as a finalist for that award for Coach of the Year in the NCAA, and you can definitely give a lot of credit to him. What he's been able to do with this group, not only in the locker room, bringing them all together and getting them to buy into the Be the Tradition mantra and, you know, believe in themselves that they're good enough to make the tournament as they did this year, but also what he's been able to do if you're looking into next year, the recruits that he's been able to bring in. You know, you've got a leading scorer in the NAHL, you've got a couple of good defensemen coming from the BCHL. Yes, they do lose Joey Decord, but at the end of the day, what he's been able to do, along with the rest of the staff, including the training staff and medical staff, to get these guys conditioned for that long playoff push, it definitely falls right back onto Coach Greg Powers, and it's looking like he's got this program geared for the next 5 to 10 years to really create something special here, and hopefully in that time, bring a national championship to Tempe.
Well, thanks, Chase, keeping it cool as always. And for your coverage, thank you for your coverage all season. Now, some big news for Sun Devil hockey, as goalie Joey Decord will be making his NHL debut Thursday with the Ottawa Senators.
Here's a chance in front, the shot
is left to right. Let's see where this puck ends up.
2-on-1, Halloran across for Press, sprawling save by the Ottawa Senators.
Court is in some zone. There you go. There you see him.
It's been a big question for most of the season of whether or not junior goalie Joey Decord would leave ASU for the NHL. Well, on Monday, it became official. Decord signed a 2-year entry-level contract with the Ottawa Senators, the team that drafted him 199th overall in 2015. He is now the first Sun Devil to ink an NHL deal. The 22-year-old compiled 21 wins, a 2.35 goals against average, and a .926 save percentage in his final season after starting every game for ASU. He also had 7 shutouts, tied for the most in NCAA Division I. The Mike Richter finalist has had quite the week, from playing in an NCAA tournament game on Saturday to signing on Monday. Decord will officially make his NHL debut in net for the Senators on Thursday against the Buffalo Sabres. It is yet another historic moment we will witness for Sun Devil hockey and Arizona State.
A week before women's basketball's exit, the men's team's run ended against Buffalo. In that game, a lot of the year's inconsistencies were on full display. To talk about that, Trevor Booth joins me at the desk. And Trevor, what were your thoughts on how the season ended?
It wasn't good, Carson. It was an 81-74 loss to Buffalo. And when you look at the statistics, you can tell right away why ASU lost that game. They shot 3 of 22 from the three-point line. They got out-rebounded by 16. But it really only took an eye's view to see exactly how it played out. And that's that Buffalo was the physical and more prepared team for that basketball game. They were beating ASU to their spots in the defensive end, really made ASU work the ball around and try to create dribble penetration. And with Remy Martin being hurt, that just wasn't possible really in that game. And you can look at it and say ASU, well, they were tired from that first 4 game in Dayton. But if you're going to win NCAA tournament games, you have to come out and be prepared in that kind of atmosphere and be prepared to play multiple games during the weekend. So that's something that this program is going to have to take going forward.
Bobby Hurley finished his 4th year at ASU with a 23-11 record, 12-6 in Pac-12 play, and he advanced to his 2nd straight NCAA tournament. How would you assess his overall performance in Tempe over his first 4 years?
He's gotten a lot of flack, and I feel like some of it is warranted and some of it is not. But the fact of the matter is this program has not been to the NCAA tournament consecutive times since 1980 and 1981, and he's come and he's changed the culture at ASU. They finished again in the top 3 in attendance. They might have a one-and-done NBA draft pick, which we're going to talk about shortly. So the recruiting is there and the environment is there, and it's going to take time to build a winning team. And they've shown some steps. They've beaten Kansas. They swept Kansas in the season series in the past 2 years. And when it comes to NCAA tournament steps, it's these little things, getting to the tournament consecutive years and winning a game for the first time. That's something that's going to build over time. And I know Tempe is expecting championships right away, but they got to be patient. He's doing a good job, and it'll continue to come as the years progress.
Last week, you wrote a column about Luguentz Dort's impending NBA draft decision. He is now reportedly declared for the draft. If he stays in the draft, Trevor, how will that affect ASU for next year?
It's going to hurt them. If he returns, they would have 2 all-conference guards, which would be the only team ASU would be to have that in the Pac-12. So that's something that could definitely impact them. That's going to create a big role for Rob Edwards right away. He's going to have to probably create more offense on his own. Alonzo Verge and Jalen House will be here next year, so they're going to have to immediately step in, and they won't have a guy to model after, an all-conference guy. And Remy Martin's going to have to pick up things too. And when you look at the bigs, they're not going to have a guy that they can play off that can maybe attack the rim. So this team's going to have to find that balance of perimeter shooting if he's not there, but also the way to get the ball inside. And if Dort's not there, he's able to create these opportunities this last year. If he's not there, that's not going to be as prominent. So he has until May 29th to decide if he wants to come back to school, and he's going to probably decide this process and see if he's going to be a first-round NBA pick. I expect him to fall to kind of in that mid to late first NBA range. So I expect that he will be gone, and that's a challenge that ASU will have to face next year.
Well, Trevor, I know you are now counting down the days until next season. It was good to have you back here one last time to talk about Sun Devil basketball.
The Sweet 16 turned out not to be so sweet for Arizona State. Charlie Turner-Thorne and her squad traveled up to Portland and lost by 23 to number 1 seed Mississippi State, ending their 2019 NCAA tournament run. Reporter James Malamus joins us now for some insight. So James, what went wrong for ASU on Friday?
Well, like you said, they were going up against number 1 seed Mississippi State. They have 6'7" Tierra McCown, projected to go top 3 in the WMA draft. She was a problem to deal with. Her physicality drew a lot of fouls on the Sun Devils. Kiana Ibis picked up 2 early fouls. She had to sit out the rest of the half. That really affected ASU's offense. The defense of Arizona State, it did really well in the first half. Tierra McCown only held to 1 field goal attempt. They really shut her down. In the second half, a little bit of a different story. She scored 20 in the second half. She finished with 22 and 13. And Mississippi State's defense, way too much for Arizona State to handle. It was kind of a run.
Well, James, let me ask you something. Now that the season is over, how successful do you think this season was overall for the Sun Devils?
I think it was a very successful season for the Sun Devils. They finished 5th in the Pac-12. It's a very talented conference. They got bounced in the second round of the Pac-12 tournament against a very talented UCLA team, and they finally made it over the round of 32 hump. They finally got to that Sweet 16, what they wanted. Those 4 seniors, they finally got there. It was a very big win, very emotional win for that team. It was a very successful season.
Well, all that could be done now is to prepare for next season. So, James, what are some things on your watch list going through into this offseason?
Well, they are losing 4 seniors. next season, including the leading scorer, Kiana Ibis. That's going to hurt the offense a lot. They don't have a lot of depth at the front court. Their back court, on the other hand, very deep. They have 3 seniors coming back, 2 freshmen that got good minutes this year. They're coming back their sophomore season, got a little experience under their belt. The big problem is going to be in the front court. Not a lot of size, not a lot of experience there. Yeah. For the wing, they do have Ebony Walker, number 46 ranked ESPN recruit coming in. Very versatile, athletic wing. Should add some scoring to this offensive lineup for Arizona State. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, it's going to be difficult replacing Ibis, but Ebony Walker is a big catch for Charlie Turner-Thorne. Awesome stuff, James. Great to have you on with us today, and awesome coverage all year long, my man.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
On the diamond, softball has hit a speed bump in a previously successful season. Joining me to talk about that is Adam Noel. Adam, welcome in.
Thanks for having me, Carson.
Of course. Obviously not the greatest of rivalry weekends for Tricia Ford and company. The Sun Devils were swept by number 9 Arizona. And Adam, what went wrong there?
Well, Carson, the biggest issue had to be the offensive production. Arizona pitching staff threw 3 straight shutouts. First 2 games, 8-0 losses for the Sun Devils, and the last one on Sunday, a 2-0 loss. And really, the thing that has bothered ASU the whole season has been hitting against elite pitchers. And we saw that time and time again, especially this weekend against Arizona.
In the midst of the shuffling ASU bullpen, who has been the go-to for Coach Ford?
Well, although Samantha Mejia is the number 1 for the Sun Devils right now, I think it has to be the number 2 under her, freshman pitcher Abby Anderson. She has had an outstanding season, 9-5 on the year. Her ERA, 3.50, the lowest on the staff. She's really been put in big situations, pitching against some of the top teams that they've played so far, and she's done an outstanding job. And although Cielo Meza was the number 2 to start the year, they moved her to the bullpen, bringing in Anderson, and I think it's really proven to be a good move for Tricia Ford.
Looking to this weekend, a matchup with number 1 UCLA. What will the Sun Devils need to do to stay above 500 in conference play?
Well, currently 5-4 in Pac-12 play. Not the greatest weekend, especially after that sweep to Arizona, and they really need to pull at least 1 or 2 wins against the top team in the nation. UCLA currently 32-1, 6-0 in Pac-12 play, perfect start, and has absolutely obliterated their opponents this season. Their number 1 pitcher, Rachel Garcia, a .54 ERA this season, 14-0, and exactly what ASU is not looking forward to going against. They've struggled as it happened against Arizona, and they're really going to need to get to Garcia in one of these 2 games against UCLA. A really, really tough weekend for ASU, but if they can pull this off, it might be the turning point for this season.
That series begins Friday evening at 5. Adam Noel, ladies and gentlemen. He keeps bringing the A game week in and week out.
Sun Devil baseball remained hot over the weekend. ASU swept its series against in-state rival Arizona, and the offense was smoking as the Sun Devils piled up 33 runs in the 3 games. Outfielder Hunter Bishop knocked 2 homers and drove in 4 RBIs to earn Pac-12 Player of the Week again. The team's record improved to an incredible 25-1, and ASU entered this week ranked number 7 in the country. However, on Tuesday, Long Beach State came to town and handed the Sun Devils their 2nd loss of the season, with some pitching struggles from ASU on display. Now 25-2, ASU will carry on with Pac-12 play when it takes a trip to USC for a 3-game series this weekend.
In addition to several programs in their respective NCAA tournaments, it was an interesting week for ASU on social media. The university's athletic department was called out in a tweet from Ari Wasserman, a college football beat reporter for The Athletic. He said, quote, Arizona State is the most underperforming athletic department in college sports. They have the money, resources, climate, recruiting territory, end quote. I think most everybody can agree with the second part of that tweet. ASU is blessed with a beautiful campus, superb facilities, and great weather, to mention a few of Tempe's appeals. But Ari hasn't been paying much attention to the national collegiate sports landscape if he truly believes the first half of his rant. This is the most successful Arizona State has been as a whole in recent memory. All of the major sport teams were relevant this year. Football made a bowl game and finished 2nd in the Pac-12 South in Herm Edwards' first year. Both men's and women's basketball made the NCAA tournament for back-to-back seasons. Baseball is off to one of its best starts ever with just 2 losses through almost 30 games. Even hockey, for crying out loud, made it to the 16-team road to the Frozen Four. And this is just the tip of the iceberg for the Sun Devils. They are also exceptional in most of the smaller sports. Softball is coming off a WCWS appearance, and it seems destined to once again reach the tournament. Women's triathlon has won the Natty 3 years in a row. 3 years. Not many other schools across the entire nation can claim to such a holistically successful athletic program. Maybe Ohio State, Auburn, Stanford, it's hard to say. But with the way things have gone lately, ASU's spot on the national scene should be questioned by nobody.
Did you know that Arizona State has had the most players in Major League Baseball in the draft era? Well, the list continues to grow as former Sun Devil Merrill Kelly became number 111 on Monday. In his MLB debut with the Arizona Diamondbacks, the hometown kid pitched 6 innings, throwing 3 strikeouts, allowing 5 hits and 3 earned runs. Kelly went to Desert Mountain High School in Scottsdale and was drafted in 2010 by the Tampa Bay Rays out of ASU. However, he spent his last 3 seasons in the Korean baseball organization. Now, at the age of 30, he gets the opportunity to display his talents in front of the city he grew up in.
You mentioned it earlier, Ethan. Hunter Bishop has been seeing beach balls in the strike zone lately. His .417 average is the highest on the team of qualified batters, and he built upon that strong season against the Cats. He hit 2 home runs, raising his total to 16 knocks on the season. In the last 3 games, Bishop has driven in 3 runs and reached base in every single game this year. Heck, he even stole his first base of the season over the weekend. Hunter Bishop is truly doing it all, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. You know what they say, time flies when you're having fun. We can't wait to see you again next week.
We just brought the heat, and that'll do it. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at devils_detail for the latest news, and check out devilsindetail.com for everything ASU athletics. See you next week.